Boom! What's going on, everyone? This is Steve Larsen, and welcome to Sales Funnel Radio. Very excited for today's episode. Today, I actually have an interview that I'm going to share with you guys, and we're going to talk about a funnel hub. I've spent the last 4 years learning from the most brilliant marketers today. And now I've left my 9-to-5 to take the plunge and build my $1 million business. The real question is, how will I do it without VC funding or debt, completely from scratch? This podcast is here to give you the answer. Join me and follow along as I learn, apply, and share marketing strategies to grow my online business using only today's best internet sales funnels. My name is Steve Larsen, and welcome to Sales Funnel Radio. What's up, my friends? Hey, FunnelHub is kind of a new term. It is something that Mike and AJ Rivera are experts in. Basically, you guys all know, a funnel is not a website, right? There was somebody who reached out to me, it's probably about a year ago, and they said, hey, would you please take a look at our funnel? For some reason, it's not converting very well. So I went in, I opened up all their URLs. They had hired me to come in and check out a lot of this stuff. So I went and checked it out, and I immediately, off the bat, I could tell, this is not a funnel. This is a website. And I told them that. They go, no. This is 100%, this is a funnel. And I was like, no, 100% without a doubt, I swear on my life, this is not a funnel. They're like, what are you talking about? I said, well, for starters, you got exits all over the page, right? A funnel is a funnel because there's only one way to progress. They either have to purchase or they have to opt in, right? If there's tons of ways on the actual page to go to another place or go to it, if I can exit in any other way besides the one way forward, that's not a funnel. That is, by definition, it is now a website. And so they had stuff in their headers all over the place, right? They had stuff in the middle. You had to scroll down to the bottom to even opt into anything and move forward in the funnel they'd created. And I was like, guys, so anyways, we switched a few things up there and immediately, just that one switch alone and actually making it a legitimate funnel increased. But what about what's funny is the more and more I've done this, we're getting pretty far in Sales Funnel Radio. There's a lot of episodes, obviously now. It's so funny to me. A lot of people have no idea what it all is that I actually produce or provide. And I get it. And it's for a lot of reasons. Number one, I'm focusing on building a lot of this stuff and linking it all together. And I'm focusing on putting little launch campaigns together to get noise around them. And I'm focusing on fulfillment of those and putting up systems in the fulfillment. And there's a lot of pieces that go into it. Well, some of this stuff I've quietly just kind of launched because I wanted to just see what would happen to kind of the hyper users who I knew would see it. Some of the stuff I make really big, loud entrances with, right? And big old launch campaigns behind. But how do you, there's got to be a way to go in and help everybody understand what is it you're selling at all times. And that is what I'm excited about for today's interview. I actually have two, like I said, very special guests on today, and they have created what we are calling a funnel hub. They call it a funnel hub. It's not a website, but what it is it's a place, it's almost like a directory, almost like a traffic light. Okay, when somebody comes in, and they go to your funnel hub, they can see, oh my gosh, this is Steve Larsen's value ladder. And if I click this, it will take me to that funnel. And if I click the next thing in the value ladder, it will take me to that funnel. If I click over here, right, it's almost like a directory. So it's gonna look very similar to a website, but with a different intent, and especially for how we term things, it is known as a funnel hub. So I'm excited for today, guys. We're gonna go in, and you guys are actually gonna see they came in and they launched my funnel hub. So stevejlarsen.com. The old one is completely gone. stevejlarsen.com is what they've built. So if you're on YouTube right now or have the option to, what's kind of cool is they're gonna actually share their screen in a moment and walk through some of the elements inside stevejlarsen.com. So it's very exciting. So anyways, we're gonna cut over to the interview now so I can teach you guys a little bit more about a funnel hub and you guys can build your own. I'm here with two very special guests from the inner circle. They're here from Anchor Wave and they do funnel hubs. This is Mike Schmidt and AJ Rivera. Very excited to have you guys. Thanks for being on.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Stephen, for having us.
Super stoked, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. You guys approached me. When was this? It was a while ago.
It was in October. We were at the Traffic Secrets events in Scottsdale.
That's right. Yeah. And basically, they came to me and said something that would be very dumb for me to say no to. Stephen, can we build you something for free? And I said, sure. And it's kind of a case study. We wanted to walk through today what they've built because I believe that what they've got here actually will revolutionize websites. A lot of us make fun of websites. I make fun of websites. We all know that Russell and ClickFunnels World definitely makes fun of websites.
Totally.
They didn't, you guys, they haven't built a website. They built what is called a funnel hub. And we're definitely going to get into that. But beforehand, we'd like to know about you guys. What do you guys do?
So we have a web design digital marketing agency based in Tucson, Arizona. We've got a team of 20 people here. And we started in 2003, so celebrated 16 years in business this year. And gosh, we've built like a lot of websites, like a lot of, more than 1,300 by our closest count at this point.
Oh my gosh.
What's crazy, what's funny is, we heard Russell most recently renew his efforts around the death of a website.
He did.
And even for those of you guys who were at Funnel Hacking Live, enrolled us in the promotion of that message. And I had to turn to Anthony here and say, I don't think that we can share that video for Russell, given what our company does.
Sure.
We have a lot of experience in helping a lot of different types of clients build websites in order to build credibility, in order to help them serve a local market. And we joined Russell's inner circle about 4.5, 5 years ago. Like before, it was cool to be in the inner circle. Like it was just a bunch of nerds in a room, like giving Russell a lot of money to like geek out on stuff. And now, thanks to what he's done and you've done, kind of elevated that status quite a bit. But we really went there in order to start our expert business. And given our experience of running a sizable team, building websites, doing digital marketing for a local type client, we just kind of understood inherently that there was something we needed to get out there and teach to our marketplace, to the people who are WordPress developers, and the people who are digital marketers and wanting to serve that type of client. So about 3 years ago, we started something we called Agency Mastermind, which is a group that's all about teaching the things that have helped us be successful in our world to people out there. And so we have just crossed the threshold at the end of last year into achieving our 2 Comma Club, which we got to officially hang that on the wall not too long ago. So it's cool. So we live in the world where we are an agency of that traditional sort. We're also a funnel business, and we are also an expert business. So kind of things started to kind of collide for us, and especially with our proximity to a lot of the people who are just doing some really, really amazing things with funnels, and yourself being one of them. We started to see this picture of how we could really kind of redefine and bring our 16 years and 1,300 websites of experience to something that Russell is currently saying is totally dead.
If he sees this, we still love you.
Yeah.
Viva the funnels.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and we get where that's coming from, and there's parts of our bodies that feel that websites are dead for certain things, and where the funnel makes sense, and there's a lot of places it does. Like it's the most amazing tool we've ever implemented for our expert business, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So obviously we throw so many rocks at websites from a direct response marketer's viewpoint. I was looking at some stats just off Shopify with like a single product on there or multiple products. I mean, they don't convert except for like maybe 1 to 3% if you're good, and from that standpoint, I can certainly see why he throws rocks at websites. But you guys, I mean, you're like scrapping that whole thing. And while it kind of looks like a website, you're calling this thing a funnel hub. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sure. The idea behind the funnel hub is really that, Russell's right. The funnel's where the sales are going to happen, right? But we know that there's a lot of hot buyers that go through that process when you're driving paid traffic. You're going to get them to a landing page. You're going to end up getting them to a webinar or sell them something. And all your hot buyers are going to raise their hand and give you money. And that's great, right? But what happens to everybody else that isn't in that boat? They're going to go typically and research your brand. They're going to do a search for you just to see if you're legit. And what they end up on is in the middle of nowhere, right? They're not sure what the message is. Once you reach a certain level of status in doing this, like yourself, a lot of people are coming to you and searching for your name because they may have heard you on a podcast, or because somebody told them, hey, you've got to check out Stephen Larsen, right? And so, of course, they're going to Google that, and now they're kind of lost, right? They didn't see your ad. They didn't get to your landing page or see your videos to kind of explain everything, and they're having to piece all of this together on their own. So really the Funnel Hub is a spot where we can still guide them through that process. We can still let them know everything that Steven's about, and then get them right back into the sales funnel where we know the conversions are going to happen, right? So that's the goal. We just want to communicate the movement, communicate the message, and then get them right back to where we know they're going to actually give you some money.
Yeah, I think what's important, what he said is, if you figure that we're all high-fiving and celebrating the fact that we got 3 or 5% of the people that made it into our funnel to hand over cash, or 3 or 5% of the people who made it into a webinar to sign up for our course, we're all really excited about that, right?
Yeah.
But what about that 95%?
Yeah, the rest
What
of
do
them.
they do? There's a kind of a thought process that goes, those people, those 95% of people, they're going to buy sometime between 3 months and 3 years of interacting with you. The question is, are they going to buy from you, or are they going to buy from somebody else? And so what the Funnel Hub's about is making sure there is a safe landing, a safe place for those 95% of the people, by the way, you probably paid for or earned through your efforts, giving them a place to get back into those funnels and really even cross-pollinate into things that they may not be ready for at that point.
It's almost like a way to kind of warm them from warm and cold traffic to a little bit more hot before you enter them back.
Yeah, yeah. And to think of it from a strategy that a lot of us look at in terms of our emails. We hear about soap opera and Seinfeld emails that go out. That, for a lot of people, may be the only other way that they're nurturing somebody along to build that relationship. The Funnel Hub is the only other platform aside from email that you can truly own. At the end of the day, you're renting space on Facebook, you're renting time on YouTube. Instagram is making it at the current moment pretty easy for you to reach out to people. But those things change. But what won't change is you're going to own your customer database and you're going to own your Funnel Hub. And those are the two places that you can truly use in order to really nurture that 95% along.
Totally. And what's funny, everyone who's watching or listening to this, the thing that has it's made it so starkly real for me that I need this is I actually have a lot of products that I sell, but I know that the majority of my audience has no idea what it is that I actually sell, because they came in on one thing that was attractive to them. But, I've been testing products and, processes and things like that. And so there isn't anything that's pushing them to the next thing or saying, by the way, I also have these things.
Right.
And so when when you guys first started talking about this, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, it is the death of a website, but the birth of a Funnel Hub, right? When should somebody start looking to build one of these?
What we look at is if you're currently running a successful funnel that's getting you leads and sales every day, that means that you are building a mass of people who are going to be looking for you and going to be needing something like this, right? So it's a wide spectrum, because you can have just one funnel doing that, but many of us have built several funnels that are producing leads and opportunities. If there's signs that I look for is are people confused about what you offer? Do they know this? Do they know that they might think of you as a sales funnel radio guy, but they know that you have an event? Do they know about these other things? If you get the same questions over and over again, especially easy ones like support questions, that's a key indicator. If there's things that you're trying to communicate to people that you just can't seem to get them to understand, or you feel like you're kind of shouting at a wall, as the producer of this content, having to organize that in the Funnel Hub is a really, really key place for that.
Yeah, I think I'd add to that. If you're spending a lot of time with getting some earned traffic, you're appearing on a lot of podcasts, or there's different publications or things of articles about you online where people are just being introduced to you. Those are other indicators that you probably got, the shadow traffic that's looking for your brand online.
Yeah, and tell me if you think this sounds familiar. So you get introduced to someone, maybe through a Facebook ad or through some kind of social post, and maybe you follow them kind of a bit. Maybe you opt into their funnel, and then one day you decide to look up something you saw them advertise, and you do a search for their name and their product, and what comes up is their $25,000 high ticket coaching application form, right? You're someone kind of brand new into this world, yet the thing that they're leading with, or Google's helping them lead with, is the funnel that's not appropriate for them at that point in time.
Yeah, straight to the 25 grand mark.
Dude, if we could get those all day long without anything else,
no one would have built anything else.
Right? Yeah, totally. But I think we can all relate to that scenario where it's this person has this really deep thing, but all I'm looking for is that dang lead magnet, this thing they promised they could help me do, and I can't find it anywhere. Right? And I'm ready for that thing. I'm ready to start, dip my toe in the water with you and work my way towards that, one-on-one $25,000 Hawaiian vacation that we're going to go on, right? So that's a scenario that I think a lot of us can relate to, and that where the Funnel Hub comes in place is making sure that it's very clear how your world and business works. And I think we see that happening more and more with a lot of people in this space. Russell being a trailblazer that he is, at Funnel Hacking Live, what did he do? He did two things. He, on the screens there, published his value ladder. Yeah. First time ever. And being in the inner circle, he had shared with us, a number of months back, about a year ago. He's like, guys, I'm working on my value ladder, and I've told the team, and I promised the team, I promise that I will never change it, like, for the foreseeable future. Like, because he's one of those guys, just like a lot of us, have a lot of good ideas, and he's constantly reorganizing what this thing's going to look like.
It took him like 4 months to get serious on that value ladder too. Like, he changed it a million times.
Totally, right?
All of ours do, right?
Yeah,
we all do that.
They're a living, breathing thing, and that's a totally natural thing. So the lesson isn't that you got to lock it in place, but you do need to publish it. You do need to help your people understand how they can possibly move through your world. They want to know, they want to buy, they want an offer. So making that clear is really, really key. So we saw him put it on the screens, and he published it. He print 5,000 plus versions of this thing, then distributed that to all of us. So we can understand how to live in his world, how to buy from him, how to associate ourselves with what he has to offer. And I think that's really important for a lot of funnel hackers to pay attention to, is that if you're not clearly communicating how to buy, people are going to make up their own story about what it is you do. So the Funnel Hub steps in place to really clarify what that is for people, so that way they know how to move through your world.
Definitely. There's a podcast episode I did a little while called Branding Comes Second. And I think when I said that, people heard branding doesn't matter. And I was like, no, that's not what I said. It comes second. It comes way down the road. In fact, there's a great book called Niche Down. If you're listening or watching, good book called Niche Down. And it says that actually branding is second. And once you have something that sells, once you have an amazing thing, you really should start looking at branding things. I'm not throwing branding to the wind and saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying it's not what makes the sale. But after the sale, it starts to matter for second and third sales. There is one of the things that Russell's taught me, it was, hey, when people start saying cool things about you on Facebook or other places, start screenshotting it and keep a folder for it, and start collecting those kinds of things for in the future. You can go back and already have assets ready for essentially a Funnel Hub. What assets should somebody start collecting if they're not quite ready for Funnel Hub yet? But what should they be collecting along the way that makes it attractive and easy to build one?
Well, the cool thing is that Russell's kind of outlined a lot of that in Expert Secrets. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that we're seeing, like, that plan's already out there, right? About establishing the attractive character, about creating the future-based cause, about creating a new opportunity. So, like, what we find is, like, a lot of people are aware of that, and they might be doing a lot of that, communicating a lot of that through their funnels. But for somebody that comes to their website, they're not seeing any of that, right? They don't get that full picture. So, this is also helping people just do what Russell says, right? And, like, make sure that all of that stuff that they've worked hard on, that they've put together, is put in a spot where people can actually see it and, like, feel something for that movement, feel like they're part of that movement and want to be part of it, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, as you're working through those things and coming up with your future-based cause and coming up with your manifesto and coming up with your value ladder and coming up with the false beliefs, like, these are all the pieces that need to be represented there. And that's why, like, this isn't just some fancy, Russell killed websites, so let's call it something else type move. Like,
right. No, not at all.
This is very much about how do you align the important lessons from what we've learned in Expert Secrets and what we do as building an expert business, and having that place where all this belongs. So that way, this isn't just for the people who might land on that page in your audience. It's for you. It's for you as the expert to really have something to point at. I mean, I know that there's been times where I've written my manifesto and rewrote it, and I have like 4 or 8 versions of it in my Google Drive. Which one of them is the right one, right? Being able to point to my Funnel Hub and say, this is the right one, and this is what I'm standing for, and this is who I'm throwing rocks at. That's what takes that into like a nebulous thing, really solidifies it for not just the audience, but for that person as the expert.
Totally. So you're collecting those things along the way, and, like, again, those listening or watching, like, a value ladder, it's like a marketing idea, right? And there's different products that represent that idea along. This Funnel Hub, and when you guys started teaching me and sharing this with me, is so interesting, because it's like the Funnel Hub is the representation of all of the marketing idea that you have, that not just the value ladder, right, but the manifesto and the title of liberty that you hold up and wave the flag around with. And I just think it's really such an awesome platform to go do that. And could you guys, I know you guys have it there. Guys, this is the unveiling of stevejlarsen.com. I went and I built this the first time because I was like, the guy who, SteveLarsen.com was like 30 grand or whatever. And I was like, there's no way. So Steve J. Larsen, Stephen Joseph Larsen, was available, and I bought it and I built it, and it was terrible. And it's always been there, and it's poorly represented what I do. And guys, they've rebuilt it. So you guys want to walk us through it?
Yeah, would love to.
Yeah, we're super proud of this, man.
It's incredible. I think I ran around the house a few times when I saw it the first time. Look at that.
There we go. So first things first is I think we're going to have to get a picture of you with your a proper beard here now.
Photoshop that in or something, right?
Yeah.
But this Funnel Hub is really designed to help people, guide them through the journey that they have with you. And a big part of that is helping them understand the programs and offerings that you have. And really providing kind of that piece. So I got kind of scroll through this quick because I know that some people might be listening to this as opposed to actually seeing the screen, so I don't want to monopolize a lot of time. But so anybody listening to this wants to pop over to stevejlarsen.com can kind of go through that. So we've obviously got the events. Like these are the things that people want to know about you. They want to know who you are and what you stand for, and that's like one of the reasons we have like your manifesto that you've adopted here. And letting people know kind of what you stand for. In your programs, like we've published your value ladder with this cool little graphic here to help people see visually what are the steps and where someone actually can move through what you do here and actually be able to click on these things to get.
I'm so excited for people to see this. I guarantee most of them don't even know half that exists.
Yeah. How many people listening to this knew you had an event? How many people knew about Funnel Stash? How many knew about like what pieces of your business that they may have come in on one funnel, like and obviously 100% of people listening to this right now know about Sales Funnel Radio.
Right.
Right.
But there is an opportunity to kind of ascend those people through the other things that you offer. Right. If you didn't know, Stephen is the offer creation king.
Yeah.
Okay. Like that's clarify in your mind that he's the category king of helping someone clarify and launch an offer to the world. And that's what this Funnel Hub is really driving at. Like as cool and as amazing as the podcast is and the stories that are told, at the end of the day, they're all in service to really building Stephen as this king of the offer creation, right? It's not about funnels, we use funnels, yes, but it's about how do we leverage the offer. And that's really what this is doing.
Yeah, the one thing I mentioned on this page as well is like, this is a living, breathing thing, right? Like I feel like a lot of people feel like they can't get started with this unless they've got this all planned out and they know everything about their value ladder, but this can change, right? This is electronic. Unlike Russell printed 5,000 copies of his, this is just a graphic that we can update. So, if you have a smaller value ladder right now and it's going to get bigger, give us what you've got. We can communicate that. And as it grows, we can continue to add that later as well.
Right. Yeah, I'll say the thing that was really kind of relieving to me is when you guys said, because I was feeling that same thing when we first started working together. I can't ever change it. It's permanent. It's like a book. It will be printed. It cannot stop ever. Like
it's not a tattoo. It's not a tattoo.
It's the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing we haven't really touched much on is just like the media and speaking opportunities. And like one thing I keep on hearing people say as it relates to their own website is they just call it a blog. A blog is one component of a Funnel Hub, right? It's one piece of that. And so when you just reduce your web presence to just, hey, it's where I publish my blog, like there's so much more that should be there. And we're not putting that there just for the sake of like, just for fun. It's actually to help people understand what it is that you do and what you stand for. So that's where like our mission here with the Funnel Hub is to help people understand that it's much more. The Funnel Hub is much more than a blog. It's much more than a website. It's really helping to paint that entire picture that needs to be shown and is even a big part of a traffic strategy. Is a big part of a Dream 100 strategy. That it's not something that just kind of gets left off to the side.
Yeah, I mean, I have an example of somebody in Inner Circle. I'm not going to mention their name, but she had an opportunity to appear on a pretty big podcast, and they went and searched for her name online. they didn't like what came up, so they like pulled that opportunity away from her. And so if you had a funnel hub that clearly outlined her movement, who she was, had all the credibility indicators that they were looking for to feel comfortable to welcome them on her show, or welcome her on their show, then she would have got that and obviously been able to take advantage of the earned traffic there.
So awesome. I love that you guys asked me as well, like, what are all the questions you frequently get that people ask you over and over and over again? You put that in there. There's an FAQ. There's ways to, anyway, it's awesome. It's actually helps support, everything that I'm doing. Anyway, I'm excited. Everything is going to have Steve J. Larsen in it.
And kind of like to bring it full circle, what's cool about helping this audience and coming from the point of view where we have our own expert business is that, like, we get that the experts are really busy and have a lot on their plate. The fact that we got Stephen J. Larsen to dedicate some time to work on this project among all the other things you do is amazing.
Right.
But really what we ask you to do is pretty minimal.
Oh, that's what was shocking to me is that, there's people who've asked stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, and I was excited to do this. But I think we had like 3 meetings and you caught the vision and went and did it. Like, it's rare to have, just everybody listening and watching, like, it's rare to have somebody who clearly understands like funnel hubs / websites. Okay. But then also funnels and the funnel world and the roles between the two. That is rare. I don't see that often. So it's neat to you guys just took it and ran. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's something we see as a unique aspect we provide, being in the inner circle and building our own funnels, and then having an agency that's done this for 16 years. It's kind of an aha, and I almost feel guilty or dumb for not really thinking of this sooner.
Right.
They say there's a reason for everything. Sometimes some kids, take the slow path through school, and that would be me. But being in the inner circle as long as we have, the timing was just right around this, and
yeah. For a long time we never even talked about that side of the business, right? We just went to Inner Circle asking for advice on our expert business and getting a lot of tips with that, but they didn't even know we had this agency. So this is like a coming out for us, not only Inner Circle but everybody else in the funnel hacking community, that hey, we've got an agency that can help you with all this stuff.
Totally awesome. Where can people get information? I know because about half of my audience, they are already killing it, and this actually would very much apply to them. The other half, they're kind of brand new, which is great and welcome. Just know this is also what's in store. Where should they reach out?
Absolutely. So the best place to connect with us regarding this is funnelhub.xyz. Yes, you can get an XYZ domain.
I didn't know that.
So now we know that too. But on that page, you'll find a lot of information about what we're talking about here today. Also a little bit of video preview of Stephen's website. So those guys who are not watching the video and listening along, just head over to funnelhub.xyz and you can kind of get the whole story there as well.
And it's cool too, because they took the reins, they went and built it all out. And then I just did a critique through like, hey, change this or vernacular that or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they're always there though for when I could just, even on a monthly basis, reach back out and say, hey, my product's changed. This changed. So nothing is cemented. That very much was like, it helped me a lot.
As much as I would love to take credit for the design or the putting this whole thing together, it was absolutely our team here that helped out with that. Jill is one of our project coordinators, played a major role in that, in jockeying that. So what's cool is even though we're busy running our own expert businesses, like you have the access to the team that can make that happen. You
have a pretty big team too.
What's that again?
You got a pretty big team too. It's a good size.
Yeah, we've got a team of 20 people here in Tucson, Arizona. So right outside this door right here, and Jill's office is right there. And so we've got the team here that shows up to work every day to do this kind of stuff. So that's something where we're really proud of that, and we're really proud of our team. And I hope that you guys can see the labor of their love through the site that through the funnel that was created for Stephen. So.
No, totally. Hey guys, you all know that we focus heavily on hiring the who that knows the how, right? In entrepreneurship, it is not about you learning how to play every instrument in the orchestra. It's about you being the orchestrator, right? You're the conductor. I want you to understand clearly that the who to funnel hubs is definitely Mike and AJ. Okay, go to funnelhub.xyz and check them out. They are the experts. They birthed a lot of this concept. Okay, you're getting it right from the horse's mouth. And guys, thanks so much for being on with us. This is awesome. Boom! If you're just starting out, you're probably studying a lot. That's good. You're probably geeking out on all the strategies also, right? That's also good. But the hardest part is figuring out what the market wants to buy and how you should sell it to them, right? That's also what I struggled with for a while until I learned the formula. So I created a special mastermind called an Offermind to get you on track with the right offer and, more importantly, the right sales script to get it off the ground and sell it. Want to come? There's small groups on purpose so I can answer your direct questions in person for 2 straight days. You can hold your spot by going to offermind.com. Again, that's offermind.com.